Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Monday, July 19th. Listen, we all know what the mood is out there right now. We've been looking over social media and seeing the market, do a heavy sell-off today. So, but, there's also a lot of positive spirit in some of the posts that I've been reading. But listen, to what was said weeks back, I believe a lot of people are just dipped out of this market. So we're going to hit the charts today and kind of break down what's going on with that. Coming off a nice weekend, long weekend at the track with Uncle Steve and the Voyager Trade the Chain car. So that was great to see. Literally just flew in a few hours ago back into the island here. But looking forward to Indianapolis. I believe that's August 14th, the NASCAR race. And that's where Monty and CJ will be battling the Trade the Chain race car in that race. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to have to start opening up some betting on that one. Monty, he loves to bet. He's a degenerate.
Oh, I'll bet on anything, Alex. I'll bet on anything. But I'm really excited for that. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited to, not only watch the race, but hang out with you guys too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be fun, It's been a while. I mean, I got the pleasure of CJ coming down to the island, spending a little time, But I haven't seen you, Monty, and I think when was the last? Oh wait, did we just see each other? I don't know.
Miami. That's too long. It's been over a month.
That's the problem, though, Monty. It was Bitcoin Miami. Does anybody remember anything from Bitcoin Miami?
Alex, every time I saw you, you had a glass of Pinot glued to your hand. So it was like an accessory to your outfit that weekend.
I knew you were going to say that. Steve pointed that joke out to me again this past weekend. So thank you. I am the Pinot Grigio guy. I also see my lights flickering, which means that we could be having some electrical issues here on the island. So let's get started. CJ, over to you. Wait. I do have one more thing to say. Because of the scheduling conflict on Thursday for the $10,000 cent giveaway winners announcement, we actually had to postpone that. So we are going to do that today at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely tune in for that if you entered that contest before, and check out the channel because it'll be listed there with the thumbnail. So I'm sorry, CJ. Off to you, my friend.
Yeah, if we could just bring up this legal slide here that I have shared, just a friendly reminder that nothing said today should be taken as financial advice to be acted upon. That goes for anything said by Market Rebellion as well as Trade the Chain. Remember that we do this, guys, for informative and really educational purposes only. You're here to learn from our mistakes and successes. But with that being said, let's go down to Trade the Chain, an AI-driven sentiment indicator and dashboard alert system. To help you beat the market, Trade the Chain provides an indicator alert system with sentiment all throughout the world. If we check out the Trade the Chain dashboard, you can see how sentiment is kind of mapped out throughout the various market, as well with average trading volume. We can see that's pretty much down across the board. But if you'd like to try a 14-day trial, you can check out tradethechain.com. And then marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get weekly trade insights and trade ideas with entries, exits, and stop losses. Our education curriculum, which we're constantly adding to when it comes to trading crypto. And then we also have a full chat and charting platform that you guys can have access to right here. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go to marketrebellion.com/crypto, and you could try the first month for just $1. So we really appreciate that, guys. But gentlemen, anything you want to share here before we get into the charts and big boards?
I think I've spoken enough. Monty, you, any good afternoon barbecues this past weekend?
Oh, actually, I did go to that place again yesterday with my family. They came to visit yesterday, so we went there. It was good. But I do want to say, Alex, although there's going to be some negative undertones about price action today, we do actually have a very positive news piece later on in the show. So stay tuned for that, because I'm really excited to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. As the title spells it out, Grayscale, and I know you're excited. It has to do with DeFi. So, all right, CJ, let's get into the charts. Let's give the people what they want and what they can expect or possibly expect.
Yep. Just want to confirm I'm sharing screen here.
You are indeed, sir.
Okay. So before we get into crypto, I think we have to address the traditional markets. And what I have here on the trading view chart behind us is the S&P 500 ever since the COVID crash earlier. So this 20 smooth moving average, and it's not just the 20 smooth, there are some other EMAs that you can find that are pretty similar to this, but I think the smoothed 20 period on the daily works very well for this. And you can see that highlighted in this white line below. But every time we touch this level and we get a bullish engulfing candle or a bullish hammer candle, either above, right on, or just slightly below this level, typically the S&P has been able to rally to new all-time highs. And so although this morning's price action has really freaked a lot of people out, we still could get a bullish engulfing candle, tomorrow or the next day, or something like a hammer candle like this, and still bounce and rally to new all-time highs. Of course, we have yet to get that. This could just be a falling knife that continues downward and, prints a 5 to 10% correction in the S&P. That remains to be seen. And if we do get something like that, I think it's going to bleed into Bitcoin pretty profusely and will be difficult. So that's something definitely that we need to be watching going into this week, and how the S&P and overall collective market performs, because as you can see, we're almost down 3% in the Dow, down a point or 1.5% on the NASDAQ, almost 2% in the Russell. So this is a pretty big warning shot fired in terms of the overall macro trend in the S&P 500. But, I still have faith in the Fed, I guess, or at least don't want to fight them at the very least. I think this COVID variant, this Delta variant, is definitely giving the market a lot of fear. But, who knows? It may end up being an excuse to print out more money and put even more liquidity in the market and send us to even new highs. So there's a lot of uncertainty here within traditional markets that's definitely leading into the crypto market, and a lot left to be determined this week. So we got to kind of stay on this chart and really monitor it. But as for Bitcoin, let's discuss technicals real quick, because we're still in this descending triangle, and we're actually just breaking down before these levels, right? We've bounced around in this level all the time ever since we came very close to that apex, fell below support, and now it's actually flipped from support to resistance on this level at about 31 or 32K. So ultimately, our first leg down, if we should see a continuation of bearish price action in the S&P, is that we're looking at $28,000 for Bitcoin. And then the fully completed pattern would be about $25,000 to $24,000 for Bitcoin. If we look at this from the inverted perspective, we can see how this kind of symmetrical triangle had broken out, and then how its completion really leads to that target. And this chart looks rather bullish despite the declining volume. It's really the only bearish metric on the Bitcoin inverted chart. So that goes there as well. The last thing, two more things I do want to show here before we pass it off. Second to last is Ethereum. So Ethereum is seeing this same descending triangle, hasn't really broke below its critical support level like Bitcoin's has. But I want to highlight something here, which is the TD sell and buy nines. So for instance, here we had a TD buy 9 and we rallied to the moving average. Same thing happened right here. We had a TD buy 9 and we migrated to the moving average. We actually had a TD sell 9 right here on ETH and have backed down all the way to our support level, which has been the common target on the downside. But look what we got just a few days ago. That was another TD by 9. So I think if we have somewhat of a neutral market here, or even a bounce in the S&P or collective market tomorrow, then we may see, a reaction rally at least to the moving average at about, 2000, and then, potentially consolidate and have some bearish to neutral price action throughout the rest of that triangle before a potential breakdown. So things are looking very bearish here collectively. But the last thing I will highlight is just Bitcoin dominance. And you can see Bitcoin dominance is not bearish at all. It's still looking, with sufficient support here by the moving average, with higher lows continuing here in this ascending triangle with Bitcoin dominance, virtually the fear index of the crypto space. So the fact that we have a very bullish posture in Bitcoin dominance, it's just kind of very bearish overall for the trend. And I think, the S&P and the collective market paints a pretty bearish picture, at least in the short term. So we'll definitely be watching that this week. And I'm excited to potentially see some big moves here.
See, aren't you glad I teased that little piece of positive news at the beginning? Because I told you there are going to be some bearish undertones today. But CJ's not wrong. I mean, look at those charts. They are looking very bearish. And I think one thing that we're really learning here is that the retail capital isn't going to save us. It's not going to be the catalyst for that next leg up. So I want to just quickly talk about a couple things that I think are worth mentioning. Let me just pull this up real quick. So I want to start by talking about futures. Can you guys see this screen okay? Can you guys see this?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. So right now, one thing to look for in terms of, institutional versus retail capital is Bitcoin futures open interest and who the big players are in that game. And right now it's being dominated by retail capital, which is reflected in Binance's, domination of this open interest. The most, institutional based one would be the CME, and that's sitting all the way down here, less than half of the open interest we're seeing in terms of Binance. So it just doesn't seem like the institutional interest is there yet. This news broke on Friday. Bank of America approves Bitcoin futures trading for some clients. This, in my mind, is very bullish. They're going to be trading on the CME, so we can look to the CME futures open interest as kind of a gauge for that institutional sentiment. They're not the first to do it, but they are a very big bank to do it. Goldman did it. Their crypto arm reactivated after 3 years of dormancy, but now Bank of America is laying the foundation for institutional on-ramps. I think that is the common theme of this sort of lackluster price action, is we're going to see these sort of institutional on-ramps continue to pop up. So this is the current picture, like I said, but I want to go back to October 23rd. Turn back the clock a long time ago. I'm pretty sure we were doing the show then. And one thing that we were always talking about is institutional interest in the space and how important that is. So October 23rd, Coinbase publishes this article. CME's rise in Bitcoin futures rankings signals growing institutional interest. Where were we at in that point in time in price? We're still sitting down here at 10K. This is a screenshot from our education curriculum. The prophet himself, CJ, is talking about money flow in this one, I believe. And this is the CMF, the Chaikin money flow. So take a look at how healthy this was. This marked the start of institutional interest in Bitcoin. And from here, we had this very steady growth sustained by, the less volatile institutional hands. Now, when we hit this sort of inflection point here, as you can see with this downturn from the CMF, we have less capital flowing into the space. In fact, it's flowing out of the space. This is where the retail participation really began. Think about the mania we've seen so far in 2021. That wasn't bolstered by institutions. That was bolstered by retail participants getting into the space. That's evident if you look at the metrics from any of the major brokerages or exchanges. Just look at the signups that Voyager saw or Coinbase saw. Huge retail demand. So,
Monty, let me interrupt you for a quick second. I see you getting fired up on the institutional talk, and I was like, I don't know, the wheels were about to fall off this wagon. When it comes to institutional, appeal to the marketplace, why do we have such different, narratives coming from B of A, which is obviously it's putting out positive news on Friday for Bitcoin and its customers. But then also just a few days before then, Larry Fink from BlackRock saying there's no institutional. Why the narrative discrepancies, you think?
Yeah, so I think that comes down to maybe time preference. Maybe, I think Larry Fink kind of has a point in, if you just look at the current time frame, there isn't much institutional interest in Bitcoin right now, given the current market environment, the current price point, and the current capital that's in the space. CJ did a great job pointing out the fragility that we're seeing in the legacy markets. I think institutions are aware of that and aware of the risk associated of entering a Bitcoin position right now. What that would look like if the S&P crashed. It would not be good. Institutions know that. They're not going to buy into weakness. They're going to buy into strength. So even though the interest isn't there in the immediate future, I think the fact that we have places like B of A, laying the groundwork for this sort of institutional on-ramps is exactly what you'd expect to see during this time of bearish price action, and still a lot of retail capital left in the space. So until we get that final capitulation from the retail capital, I don't expect the institutions to start entering or showing that interest just yet. But in the sense of laying the groundwork, I still think that the institutions recognize that it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, one of the things I want to share here is, if I can, still learning how to use this software, folks. Am I sharing anything?
No.
Beautiful. I just wanted to point out that, when we were, here we go. So while this is sentiment on Bitcoin right here, and this is looking at the 7-day. And I mean, you just see the negativity that we had. Bitcoin was just in flux, again, range bound, right? Top side to the downside, and price was just following it within this range right here. But then, here you see price going kind of horizontal, and then just complete dipping right back down into little sentiment trying to pop up there. But sentiment was leading the way when it came to the price action with Bitcoin. And it's just amazing on how that goes. I mean, what were some of the volumes for yesterday and for this weekend?
Extraordinarily low.
Are we getting lower and lower, CJ, with volume? I mean, is that what the pattern's looking like?
Yeah, I mean, it's steadily grinding downward. I mean, you saw me when I showed the Trade the Chain dashboard earlier. I mean, we have negative 30%, negative 20% consistently on Ethereum and Bitcoin in terms of relative trading volume about every day, every other day. I mean, there's not a lot of days when we have positive volume, and I check that, just about every day. So.
Hey. Well, it's good. We got DJ Crypto in the house, I see. He's right over here. And for folks who don't know him, he actually put out a video on VGX last week with a couple of the other guys, VGX heroes. So it was really cool, man. I enjoyed watching that video, and just definitely go check out DJ Crypto on Twitter, DJ Crypto on YouTube. And watch his video. He's a really upbeat guy, really big proponent of Voyager.
Of course he's an upbeat guy. He's a DJ. Come on.
He's a DJ. Who do you want at the party? All right, cool. Because of the Grayscale news that you alluded to, Monty, I think it's only fitting for us to just go over the Ethereum chart real quick, since we're about to just break down some DeFi stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. CJ pointed out those TD buy 9s. I think those could perhaps provide a little bit of momentum for ETH, but ultimately we're seeing a very similar thing in ETH as we're seeing in Bitcoin. Let me pull up the chart real quick. Oh,
sorry.
No, there we go. You see that? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so yeah, like CJ pointed out, we're getting these buy 9s here, which in just the last couple of months have consistently provided positive price action. Like you pointed out here, we get this buy 9. Immediately 3 days after, we're up, about $500 from where we were just a few days ago. Same thing here. We get a nice bounce off this 9, 2 days of positive price action. Here, another instance, we get a bounce off this 9. This one, we got a bit of a fake out and a continuation of bearish price action before going positive. Now, this might be the one where we finally break down. Like we pointed out, volume is declining, although it is bearish volume declining, which is typically a bullish metric. I think the fact that volume is declining may be indicative of the fact that there's just less interest in the ETH at this price point of about 1850. So it's really concerning. We got some critical levels going forward. I pointed out this one last week of about, this is the next one we have yet to test, about 1730 or so. This isn't drawn with a fine tip pen, more of a crayon, but look back here. This wasn't only a critical level here when we dipped and hit this 9, but also earlier in the year. This was a critical level, both support and resistance, and we consolidated around this level before going higher. So I'm hoping that we'll see a similar, amount of volume that we saw back here, with buyers willing to step in below this price point. But given what we're seeing, it is looking very bearish, and it does look like ETH is set to break down even further. So yeah, not too much positive to say other than that TD buy 9, but even that is looking like it might be kind of overwhelmed by just the sell pressure that we're currently seeing.
Cool. Well, and there goes Monty with this. He's a magician. Let me address this while Monty gets back on. Alex, you've left your position in STMX to enter again with price when the price shows positive signals, and that was quickly followed up by Luna B going, Alex, did you sell your STMX? So no, I did not. So here's how it works with STMX. I have a the majority of my portion of STMX is long-term hold, and I will not look at it until for quite some time to come. And I do have a little STMX, which I have done scalp trading on. So I've gotten some arbitrage between the dips, the troughs, and the peaks, and yeah, so that way I can make more money to buy more StormX STMX. But the majority of my position is long-term hold, no scalping. All right, so let's go in, and you can I'm not like CJ. He's very quiet over there. I'll admit to anything if you guys want to call me out in comments. Well, almost anything. All right, let's get to this. Let's get to this article we have, and that is on Grayscale. And for folks that don't know what Grayscale is, it is the Jesus, sorry about that. Some nightclub action. There we go. For folks that don't know who Grayscale is, they are by far the largest crypto investment firm around. What they've gone ahead and announced here is Grayscale DeFi Fund. Now, I'm going to kind of break this down because people are gonna read this article, and I'll drop it in the chat actually right now what we're talking about. But Grayscale, there's a big group of companies here. There's CoinDesk. There's now TradeBlock, which is an execution firm or interface, and there's Grayscale. There's all these companies that are very intertwined, okay, and they all have common ownership. So this story goes a little far to say Grayscale has launched this new DeFi fund using the CoinDesk index, and it's called the TradeBlock fund. So they've thrown it's here it is. The CoinDesk D Fund Index is a new product from TradeBlock. I like the guys over at TradeBlock. I remember when they started that firm. What this is a fund that people can invest in, and it's an actively managed fund for the reason that it is ranked by market capitalization for each position it holds. And so when those positions change, there's a rebalancing of the fund itself. But it has everybody's fan favorites: Uniswap, Aave, Comp, Curve, Maker, Sushi, the whole list. So this is for people who want to grow without having to actually worry about their money. But Monty, dip into this for us for a little bit.
Yeah. So this, is encouraging in the sense that anytime you get those institutional on-ramps that I was mentioning earlier, it's a sign that the interest is there. So eat your heart out, Larry Fink, because I do think that institutions are, in the long term, definitely interested. And for DeFi, this is big news because DeFi so far has been entirely bolstered by retail capital. There's been really no institutional interest, more or less, in the DeFi space, which doesn't really make a lot of sense given the utility that you would find in that space. Lending and borrowing, that sort of thing. It makes a lot of sense for these, bigger institutional plays to look into that space. Now, obviously, over the last, just a couple months, we've had some pretty interesting things play out in DeFi that maybe have kind of, hindered their entry into the space. We had Mark Cuban getting burned with his massive APY play. But I think that at the end of the day, this is just a sign that institutions are recognizing the potential of DeFi as not just an investment vehicle, but also, the utility that it could have in the future. So this will be big news for DeFi. It hasn't really had a chance to price itself in given current market conditions, but this reminds me of what we were seeing back in October of 2020, like I was mentioning earlier. We had all this news of institutions preparing to buy crypto, and then eventually we had news of those institutions buying crypto, and the market was, responded very positively. So that's the same thing I expect to see here. It's a sign that down the road, the interest is there. So I'm very encouraged, and I think it could provide some sustained capital and price action for DeFi.
Do you think that this fund will be mainly populated by institutions?
Yeah, so in the article, it does mention that it's geared towards, accredited investors and specific institutions. So I think at first that's how they'll do it. And I think that's good because, it's going to be DeFi really is the wild west in many ways. So I think it's good that they're going to kind of maybe curb the volatility of that a little bit and first offer it to accredited investors and institutions. I think that will be, positive in the long term. And like I said, provide that more steady-handed capital to an otherwise volatile market.
I saw CJ leaning towards the mic, just keeping quiet for an entry.
I didn't have
do you feel, guys, do you feel this is one step closer to a mass market product such as an ETF? Is this kind of showing regulators as well, like, hey, this product has a place here? We understand it's only for institutional investors or accredited investors, which, accredited investors takes out a large swath of the base people who are involved in crypto. But does it kind of lead the way for the path, like, maybe an ETF will help get approved sooner than later with these type products coming out?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, the only way to kind of move forward in terms of regulational clarity is to kind of by making these things a reality. So I think that, if this fund does launch and, there's no rug pulls of any of the assets within that fund, then it could be ultimately good for regulation moving forward.
All right, cool. CJ, besides reading the comments about how I keep my teeth white, what's your input on this? Positive for the market overall?
Yeah, it's one of those things that is a gradual step. I just think the current conditions are very risk off, and I think that's going to make institutions a little bit kind of hesitant, like what we discussed earlier about kind of just being risk off in general and waiting. And I like how Monty put it, they don't want to buy into weakness. They're just going to wait and buy into strength in a trending market, like what Tesla did perfectly. So wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that if the market turns. But, overall, this is one minor step in a greater evolution for institutional finance.
Okay. Yeah, and Navi's had a lot of speak lately for putting out their financial products. They launched their institutional product line, and that's in the very beginning stages. I know there's KYC that's involved with it and stuff like that. But in speaking with Stani when they first started going down that road, it was really cool. All the type of products that they were wrapping in with DeFi, whether it was loan, whether it was options, different cool stuff. So I think that market is probably the fastest expanding, in my opinion. And I think it's going to be the quickest to real world use cases too. So curious to see. All right. Anything else, gents, before we leave it here?
You mind if I show two charts before we leave? Because the Glassnode issue of this week just came out, and I think it's pretty interesting. All good?
There we go. Cool.
Okay, so first, exchange net position change, all exchanges. So obviously we're flipping from bearish back to bullish in terms of BTC outflow for month. Interesting. Next, we have miner net position change. Miners are beginning to accumulate again, even after the miner migration. I think a lot of what we're seeing on chain reflects the successful migration of miners, and so they're not selling Bitcoin the way they had to previously. And then finally, illiquid supply change, one of my favorites. And so we continue to see a bullish accumulation when it comes to illiquid supply change. So pretty notable. Of course, this on-chain data really, I think, is at the mercy of a lot of other factors, mainly the broader economy and the S&P 500. Nonetheless, it's interesting to see that bulls are still willing to accumulate and perform those numbers and put them forth. So we'll have to see. But I mean, the main cause of reluctancy to go long right now is the equity market. And so what we've talked about in our community is kind of playing Bitcoin options plays and buying puts to hedge. That was something we talked about kind of last Friday, and some various strategies for that. So stay tuned for that going forward. But that's all I have to share, Alex and Monty.
Very cool. Yeah, quick point on that, CJ. I found that the positive attitude in the Trade the Chain Discord has been, has kept going. And I look at the Market Rebellion community, and I see a lot, people they're remaining positive as we go through this, what I call like almost a human testing stage, right? So we're all being challenged right now. But sentiment as a whole, on a macro level, I don't think it may be being tested, but I don't think it's down the tubes.
I think it's tested for the class of 2021, or the crypto class of 2020. The class of 2014 and 2017, I don't think they're phased.
No, not at all. Oh, real quickly, on the morning crypto bite, last week, did you cover did you highlight any particular projects?
No, we actually didn't pick any specific assets given, the current market conditions. So yeah, we're kind of like Daryl in the chat. We're kind of just sitting on our hands waiting to pick, some positive assets that are showing strength.
Yeah, it's really a wait and see approach, right? You're trying to pick and choose and analyze. Doggish Doge. Did you guys see the viral video of Elon saying "Daddy Doge to Mars"? He did it twice now. They're going parabolic. Thank you very much for spending money on that. Show. I appreciate it.
What the hell is Daddy Doge?
What's that?
Is that an ERC20 on PancakeSwap or something? What the hell is that?
I don't know, but there's like so many Doges. There's like Baby Doge, Grandpa Doge, Papa Doge, Mama
Wait,
Doge.
yeah, like look at the coins that are being plugged in chat. We got Daddy Doge and Baby Moon Wolf. Like these names are getting out of hand. They're just out of hand.
That's right, gas the Faz, bullets to the car salesman. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Don't forget to check out the Crypto Daily Bite Monday through Friday when they wake up. No, they do it every day. They pull double duty. And don't forget to go to marketrebellion.com/crypto where you get to try it for just $1. And then, of course, trade the chain. So, folks, thank you. Like and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget, you can always drop in the comments things that you'd like us to cover and talk about. Always appreciate it.